Welcome to the VIT podcast, recorded on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. This podcast is a chance to hear more from the filmmakers presenting work at the annual Vancouver International Film Festival, as well as year-round at the VIF Center. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hi everyone, my name is Casey Way and I'm the short form programmer. Very excited to be here today with Karina Ripper, director of There's a Devil Inside Me, which had its international premiere in the short form program 6, City Slicking. There's a Devil Inside Me follows the character of Teresa, a rebellious teen, one evening after a Catholic confirmation class where she wanders into the church's sacristy and puts on a nun's habit. Mistaken for a real sister, an altar boy gives her a collection basket full of cash, and she has to decide what to do with it. Thanks for being on the show, Karina.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, before we jump into the film, I'd like to get to know you a bit and your practice. How did you get into filmmaking, and how would you describe your approach?
Yeah, that's a great question. My parents are both from Mexico, and growing up, they were both really protective of what I could watch or not watch. And, so they really kind of kept us to Disney or Jim Henson stuff, PBS, in the States. It was very regimented. And so when I got to high school, there was this media tech class offered to students, and I was like, what is that? So I went and signed up for it. And through this was in Dallas, Texas, and unfortunately my counselor actually didn't put me in the class. And so I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I was the first person to put my name on the list. Why didn't I get in the class? And she was like, oh, honey, that class ain't for girls. And so I went and talked to my dad, and he got on the phone with the counselor, and that next semester I was in this media tech class. And when I got there, it was this thing where I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. What is this? Why? My parents were not into film, and then this whole thing happened. And I don't know, it was it was such a mystery to me. And immediately I had a really amazing instructor. His name was Greg Ruska, and he just, I don't know, he showed me so many aspects of filmmaking, the behind the scenes, the in front of the camera. And there was this moment in class where he was like, somebody needs to direct a talk show. And I think it was just out of body, but my hand just shot straight up. I didn't know what directing was. I didn't know what anything entailed. And, I proceeded to direct the worst talk show in history, but it was so much fun. I just loved working with the team. There was something about the just fluidity of all of it. And shortly after that, started working on my own shorts. I was definitely one of those kids that skated and hung out with the skater boys, and I didn't skate very well, so they would give me their camera and I would film them. And so I kind of came from that space, but slowly I started to learn about cinema and started to watch films and find places where I could explore that within Dallas, Texas.
And so wait, that was in high school?
That was in high school.
And you were the only girl in the class?
I wasn't the only girl in the class, but I was the only girl from my school. So it was one of those schools where 5 of the district schools fed into this one trade school. Mm-hmm. And so they'd pick 4 students from each school. Gotcha. So there was maybe 3 young ladies that were in that class.
Oh, that's cool. You were a rebel, and you that's how you're, just thinking about your character,
yeah.
Teresa, she's also a rebel.
Yes. Yeah. I love telling stories about the rebels, the misfits, rule breakers. That's my jam.
Nice. Okay. So are these kind of themes you would describe in your filmmaking, the kind of, the outsiders kind of?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm just really, I think there's something, I feel there's this aspect of society where there's so much pressure and so many boxes that us as women presenting people experience, and I think I'm always trying to push back against that. I think there's a lot of limitations, and I just experienced that in this career in the film industry, but in other spaces as well. And so to me, I'm when I see that in a film, when I see a character breaking out of that, whether she's a little unlikable or not, I'm actually I somehow see a little part of myself. Nice. And so I long to see that more. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's the thing I like to explore. I also like to explore sisterhood, which is something
nice.
That comes up a lot.
Yeah.
As well.
Okay, so. Cool. For those of you who haven't seen the film, just a very brief synopsis. Teresa starts off. The film starts off with her and this bumbling boy, teenage boy in a car, and they're smoking pot and getting it on kind of, and she's totally in control. And then it cuts to her going to this Catholic confirmation class, and she's not it's funny. It's like she's so cool, but like everyone around her is super square, but she's the unpopular one that gets like kind of picked on.
Yeah.
And then she just wanders around in the church, finds like where the nuns' habits are, and just like plays dress up, and then wanders around the church. There's a service happening, and then an altar boy like brings out a collection plate. He's like 12 years old, doesn't even look up, just like hands her the basket, and she just like runs off. And then that's like act one, and then a whole like rest of the film happens with her mom and her sister, of just her being like a family member, a sister and a daughter, and just like trying to figure out what to do with this money. It's just like it's a plot heavy short film, but it doesn't feel like busy, like too busy or too just like rushed at all. Like I'm really curious about the writing process. Like how did you come up with the story?
Yeah, that was a great synopsis. Thanks for having it. So, I co-wrote this with my husband and partner, Mark Ripper. Both of us were raised Catholic. He was actually an altar boy growing up. And so, I think we both were just like pulling from that aspects of our experiences. And I think that like we always were just, we really were interested in this character, this person that is constantly in pursuit of pleasure. And like, I think just like how she kind of like expresses that throughout the film. And I think like, it was interesting, like making the film through the AFID WW Plus program. There was a lot of questions around tone and so forth, or like the journey or the arc. And I think I just wanted this character to always live in the gray. I think we both did. I think we wanted her to be able to, kind of show that you can be good and bad, that you can, that like in some ways, like her final act is a bit of mischief, even though it is a bit sweet. That like, I think there's something about like the hedonism within this film that I just like totally love. I also think we were both like, just like politically, like I've been to the Vatican. I've seen where some of the money that the Catholic Church decides to spend. And so there's a little bit of that sprinkled within the film, just with her looking at the rings and the cross, showing like where sometimes like those contributions don't actually go to maybe the most needy people within our communities. And the Catholic Church has, they do that. The Prada shoes, I think, is like the cardinals are wearing. So there's a little bit of a statement about that aspect as well. But yeah, I think there was a moment where I remember going to the Vatican and being like, there's a hallway of gold, and just being like, what this is where, my parents for a long time were like, there was times where we were poor, there was times where we were working class, and we'd go to church and they wouldn't just give money, they would give each one of us money to put in the basket. And I would just be like, where's all this money going?
Yeah.
So I knew I didn't want the money to end up back there. I knew I wanted it to end up somewhere unexpected. I think that's something about also, being watching films. I love when I'm sent a curveball, like that something goes somewhere that I didn't really think like about where it was going. I'm so excited by that. So it's something that I think my husband and I are always thinking about when we're writing.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely came across a couple of points in the film where at first I thought I kind of had her character figured out. Like I knew this sort of archetypal like bad girl character and what she would get up to, but totally, didn't go that way. And there was a scene in the car when they're having a fight where I was actually kind of like afraid that because the sisters are fighting and the mom's driving, the mom's even like, I'm going to get into an accident. I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Because there's so many films that kind of try to, upset or like do something atypical from like the genre that it's in. And I was like, is this going to turn into like a horror film? I don't know. Were those moments intentional? Like, I guess you were talking about like loving those like, unexpected moments, like that moment in the car. How did you write that scene?
Yeah, that moment in the car. So I have two little sisters and a younger brother, and there was just like so many times where we would just like be in conflict with each other, and then like the next instant I'm just like, okay, I do love you. It's that thing where you'd like hit them too hard, and then you'd be like, oh no, you're fine, like you're just like that. So that was very like reminiscent of my childhood growing up. And I think like, I think it's maybe like the title, it does have like, because of the devil being in it, has like a hint of horror to it. But the title actually stems from this Cuban, she's like a Latina artist, that she did a piece of work that has a similar title. And so I came across that, and she has this like short film where she's just like, she writes the title on the wall, and then she just like walks off the screen, and she has this look on her face with so much mystery, but also like disdain, that I was just like, oh my goodness. And then I learned about her and her feelings about the Catholic Church. And I was like, for me, I know that's not in the film at all, but there's like, I just like love that connection of like me to that, our culture as Latinas, and I just like was so stuck on that title. And that like kind of setting you up in the audience to already be judging this girl, think she's going to be horrible. But yeah, I think, again, subverting the expectations of there being an actual car accident. We actually shot that scene on a virtual production stage. We partnered with NBC Universal. That was our first time doing that for myself and my DP, Sarah Walden. And yeah, it turned out so wonderfully. I'm so proud of it and so happy. We actually ended up like working on that script on the morning that we were shooting it. I realized there was like a beat missing, and so we were like rehearsing like while they were setting up the stage and getting everything rigged up. We were kind of like rewriting and rehearsing the beginning of that scene. But yeah, really proud of it.
Yeah, I really love the just like the kind of I mean, maybe it's just because religion is so kind of ingrained in my like cultural memory, even though I'm not religious, I'm not Catholic, but just like the films that kind of the images that came up for me, like when she was holding the cross and wearing the nun habit, just like films like Sister Act, like Miss 45, even when she's like the power of Christ compels you, I'm like, oh, The Exorcist. Did things like that kind of factor into the sort of, I guess, like building of the story world for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there was like, in some way, like I think my husband and I talked about how like this girl is like probably watched horror movies, like she's maybe into that. Certainly she's like saying this phrase. I think it's also like this aspect of her like kind of trying to like what's going on inside of me a little bit in that moment. Like, am I gonna really like almost egging herself on to like walk out in that nun habit, which then she does. But I think for me, like films like there's like Ida was like one, but there's also this Lucretia Martel film called The Holy Girl that I saw, I don't know, like a couple years before this, and was just like, wow, like there's this confusion around the saintlyhood of that time period for a young woman. And I was like, there's just some aspect of that I've been thinking, or I've thought a lot about with regards to this character and what she's kind of going through at that time. Because I think there's this aspect of like, when you're going through the Catholic Church, or at least my journey, there was this part where I would learn about Jesus and like all the wonderful things and that he did for the poor, or, people that were being neglected from the community, and like to bring them in. And it was all about love. And then there was this shift when I got to confirmation that was actually like, women aren't allowed to do X, Y, and Z. At that time, they were really anti-LGBTQ. And so for myself as a queer woman, I felt excluded. So I was like, oh no, this isn't for me, but I still had to go through the process because of the pressure of my mom. So it's kind of that aspect too.
Yeah. What was that like? I totally didn't know this, but like in the confirmation class, they would talk about the rhythm method. Like that's a thing.
Yeah, that was actually a thing I was furious when that happened. And I was furious because I was like, to be, 15 and in a class with 15-year-old girls and be told this really dangerous thing. And also it was Texas. So there's that aspect too of the lack of, education and resources, for, women in dealing with pregnancy or just how to protect themselves really was, I remember being really upset because I was like, you're teaching girls that they can have unprotected sex and not end up pregnant. Like, that's such a
I know. Yeah.
Why would you ever do that? But it's a real thing that they taught me. And I remember asking my mom, I'm like, is this real? And my mom was like, no.
Yeah, Google it. No.
My mom was like, my mom was very much just like, you shouldn't have sex anyways. And I was just like, you shouldn't be. And I'm like, okay, but like,
said so at school.
but I'm like, but is it like, if I did this, like, would it actually, and like, no. And I was like, that's a really like later it became a thing where I was like, that was really gnarly. You know, you end up with teen pregnancies and so forth,
and like a bunch of other things that could happen if you have unprotected random sex as a 15-year-old. Yeah, I mean, in our conversation, I just love how like there are really subtle critiques and little digs at the church throughout the film, but the film, and also at like the character, it's like the gray zone you described. The film is very much gray, but also it's like there's a lightness to it, and I love the moments where like the score comes in, just kind of like this. It's not holy or anything, but it's just like there's moments where she kind of like, it feels like her decisions are like carry this lightness. And not to spoil the ending, but I love the ending when just like the mom knows like what happened. Like, it's such a cute moment. When she just kind of like turns around. No, we know you're behind this, Teresa. It's so good.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, I wanted to end on a happy note, but I think like I also wanted there to be a realization that like she is like, the mom would know, wait a second, where'd you get all this money from? Is the next conversation.
Exactly.
I shared the script with my mother, and my mom was like, okay, but what happens right after?
Exactly.
And and like, it was funny because talking to my mom about it, we got into like an argument kind of about it in the way of like this, and my mom was like kind of arguing with me like, what? And I was just like, Mom, it's all good. It didn't happen, but it was fun because it like, you can fill in whatever you want to happen after the movie ends. But I did want there to still be this like kind of bad behavior of like, I think there's some aspect of like the spectacle of it like is satisfying to her, again, that pleasure seeker,
right?
Seeing her sister, you know, it's like at the beginning you have this film. At the beginning, this like kind of scene with this boy where they're making out, and like, and in some ways this is the culmination of that, of her like, you know, constantly seeking pleasure, but this is like, you know, and sometimes like hedonist, that pleasure is from giving it to others. It isn't always like them getting it themselves so much as like them seeing in other people, and so that kind of, those two are like the buttons in that aspect as well.
Nice. I didn't think about it like that. How did you cast the characters?
I had this incredible casting director, Sal. They came on board pretty early on and like read the script and like immediately was like, I want to do this. And I was like, awesome. Like, it just felt right. They're a Virgo, which I love.
Virgo too.
And, you know, I knew, you know, it was a challenge to cast for this because there is a lot of, you know, because of the Catholicism or anti-Catholicism within the film and that aspect within the Latino community. Okay. So it was a little difficult to find somebody, but when we found Crystal, it was like, this is definitely the person for this role. Crystal Garcia did an incredible job, brought so much just like nuance, and I was just mesmerized, and was like, this person's gonna be Teresa. And then the mom is Vanessa Gonzalez, who's this incredible comedian, actually. She's a stand-up comic. And my husband saw her doing this bit, I think, on YouTube that she was actually like talking about the devil. And like, it was really funny. And so I, you know, reached out to Sal and was like, hey, do you think you could see if like maybe she would want to do it? And she immediately was like, yes. So we got her, and then we found Jasmine through doing like auditions and so forth. But it was also just, again, difficult, again, because of the subject matter that's within the film, to find the little one. But Jasmine did an amazing job, and she was so fun to work with. And it was really, working with kids, this is like maybe like the third short I've done that's had a kid cast in it. And I think it's just like finding that kid that can like really play and like let go of whatever they thought they came to set with. And so we did a couple of rehearsals, and she really like eased into her aspects. And then I found the parts that she like was really excited about, the things she was excited about. But yeah, I really enjoyed working with all three of them.
Nice. Did it take a while to get them kind of like comfortable with each other, or was it like, what was that process like?
I think we just did like a couple, like we did, so Vanessa actually lived in Texas at the time, but now she's based in LA. But so we did some rehearsals with just Crystal, like the sisters. So we did those. And then we had just one, we only had time for one before we started filming of the full family unit. But then when we were on set that day, well, we were rehearsing in the morning with the new script changes and kind of getting us all there. We did do, I think, a couple of rehearsals with the intimacy aspect.
Right.
So we worked with an intimacy coordinator on that just to make sure, like, everybody feels comfortable or knows how to where is safe and so forth. And that was my first time doing that, but I really enjoyed having somebody there to help navigate that part.
Yeah. Yeah, Teresa's she has such an expressive face. I love how it ended with just like her with this like huge smile on her face.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like, it feels wholesome, but then how everything you're saying, like, oh, there's actually like, this is like mischievous underneath it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this like an idea or like a character you want to develop further maybe in a feature at all?
I think so. I mean, I definitely feel like there's room for growth beyond the short. It's not something I'm currently in development on, but I think at a certain point when I have the bandwidth and time, I would love to. Yeah, I have ideas about where she would go. I do like that she's looking at purchasing a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So there's things there that I think could be explored. I think of like films like what is it, like Real Women Have Curves or something like that, like kind of like that grounded coming of age sort of story, but with a little bit of heightened moments of like, stealing the money or those aspects.
Hedonism.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah.
Sweet. Well, if that's not what you're working on right now, what are you working on right now?
Yeah, so I'm working on, towards my debut feature. It's, growing up, as I said, my parents are both immigrants from Mexico, and I was the eldest of four. And there was this time where my family was unhoused. And during that time, I transformed into this ultimate distractor. And I'd get my brother and sisters to, get cardboard boxes and pillowcases and transform them into props and costumes. And we would just like play. Yeah. And so I've been, basically developing this narrative feature. It's inspired by films like Life is Beautiful. And it's about two Mexican sisters who make a daring escape from an immigrant child detention center. So it's really has like this sort of aspect of one sister protecting the other sister from what's going on in the world around her. At the same time, they're going to make a daring escape. So I love prison escape films.
Nice. Wow, it sounds really epic and like very like relevant right now. So
thanks.
Yeah. Okay, we have a couple of fun questions for you.
Yeah.
First one I wanted to ask is there anything special you find about the short film?
The short film, like
as a genre.
As a genre. Yeah. I mean, I think that like for me, well, as a director, I love playing in short film and like getting to like try things out, but also growing as well, like getting to know not just what it is I'm trying to say with my voice or the film as a whole, but also like figuring out who all my collaborators are. And like there's quite a few collaborators that I've had on the last two shorts that are the same. And I think that aspect has been like, growing together has been really beautiful. I also just like feel like the form as a whole, like watching shorts, it feels more and more like there needs to be maybe like I love the curated experience. Like I'm thinking about like coming to the festivals. It's always really enjoyable to go to a really solid curated shorts block that like really speaks to a theme or a tone or a style. It just gives me so much like new energy that like I can get in these like little bites that where if I go to see a feature and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what this is. I'm in for 2 hours. It's like easier to kind of take like little snacks of something and absorb that. I also think that like I've seen some incredible short films that have made me cry or laugh ridiculously, and or that I can't stop thinking about a moment in them or a transition or something that they're doing. I think there was definitely one last night in our shorts block that I was just like, wow, like just the whole way that they did that story, the minimalist of all of it, just really, it's going to be with me for a while. And
Nice.
that happens in shorts. And I wish that there was more support around and appreciation for the creation of them, but also then the distribution on the backside. It feels like there's maybe like a disconnect from those two places where, that curation isn't necessarily happening.
Right.
as much.
I like how you were saying earlier, this is like off the podcast, but just like how like in the shorts, like when you're watching a good short, you were saying how like it invites you into the story and it activates you or engages you. Yes. And like I feel like your film really does that too.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, because I'm like, I just want to know what Teresa does. I want to know what she's thinking. I want to know if she's actually religious. I want to know if she wants to be religious and she just isn't. There's like all these questions I have. And I know like you don't have the answer because the answer is in the story world.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love those feelings and thoughts and questions that they can provoke.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is, what would you pair your film with in like a, in a screening of two films?
Yeah, I love this question. It's really fun to think about this. I think for me, and that was like a part of me was like, oh, there's this question you asked earlier about like, or there was one of your questions that was like maybe about like a experience within cinema. And one of my favorite experiences was seeing the movie Y tu mamá también. It was one of the first Mexican films that I saw that I actually was like, this is my jam. Yeah. I love how provocative and sexy it is. But there's also these kind of like little lyrical moments within the film. And so to me, that would be my dream pairing.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would love to see those two, like There's a Devil Inside Me and that together.
Yeah.
And was there like, is that like one of your favorite memories in the cinema?
Yes. Yeah. So, in Dallas at the time, there was like this one theater that showed like more art house movies. It was a bit of a drive from where because I was more in the suburbs, and Dallas is very sprawling. But there was this time where I didn't know anything about this movie. I just was like intrigued maybe by the title, and me and my Chilean friend, we like went to go see it, and the theater was like half empty or whatever, and I just was like laughing and like loving it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this within Mexican cinema. And I hadn't been exposed to a whole lot, but like certainly like experienced like the telenovelas and the more melodrama of that world, and I do love those aspects as well, but there was something about just like the sexiness and grittiness of it all. And I don't know, it just felt a little like it was also kind of saying something about society and the like privilege of these two boys. I just was like, wow, this is, I could see, there's something about it, I could see myself in it. And that was really exciting. I think later on it became more like, there would be like these moments where I would see like real women have curves, and then I really started to see like more of myself in those films as well. But yeah.
Nice. And now you're making films like these to continue in that trajectory.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Karina, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me and for programming the film in the festival. I'm so thrilled to be here and had such a blast at our screening.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the VIP podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review. Also, check out vif.org to learn more about what's happening at the VIF Center year-round.